Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bad Publicity. Thank you very much for understanding that we delayed Tuesday's stream.
What day is it?
What? Who knows, guy?
I've completely lost track.
I got no window. I'm in my quarantine bunker. You tell me. You tell me what's happening in this outside world. So you can see here, this is some quarantine growth coming in. I'm gonna have a nice quarantine beard until the family cracks down and tells me to cut it, but we'll see. But anyway, FFG dropped a treat today for us. They went through and talked about the new Rise. The new
big box.
The new box. Marvel Rising, expansions coming. Oh, it's good times. Good times.
Yeah, and so that's the big reason why we shifted from our regular date, because we were going to record Tuesday. We had a really fun episode lined up, but then I caught that they were doing their live stream and they were going to preview this box. So why not move so we could talk about the box after it was some goodies were shown out of it. And of course, we're talking about the Rise of the Red Skull box, if you haven't caught on. So the new big box thing that's supposed to be coming out. I think it's scheduled quarter 3 after quarantine. Yeah. I think that's the delivery window that it's got right now.
Yeah, who knows, man.
Post-quarantine delivery.
Honestly, the way that the release schedule is going to be, it's like Christmas. You're just never going to know what's coming. It's just going to... Right. You're just going to wake up and there's going to be packs there. So
that's right. Let's get tons of stuff bombards you at one time.
So today what we'd like to do is get in and talk about the release information around the new heroes.
Yep.
And from that perspective, we saw that there was going to be 2 heroes in this box, Hawkeye and Spider-Woman. So let's just jump into it. And we're going to do that from the Hawkeye perspective first. So, Corey, you want to give us the first look here? We got our first look at the alter ego of Hawkeye.
That's right. You've been asking for him. All you Hawkeye fans out there, get ready because he's coming.
Oh,
you get Clint Barton. His Recovery 3 alter ego Shield. He has a weapon of choice as actions. Spend 1 resource of any type, search your deck, and discard pile for Hawkeye's bow and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck, limit once per phase. Clint also has a hand size of 6 and a strapping amount of 9 hit points. So that's your alter ego. So he doesn't immediately get the start with his bow, his signature item, like some characters do. He has to go fetch it, but the fact that he can go and grab it instead of just set up, he can just do it as an action during his turn from the deck or discard, actually has some neat uses when you look at some of the the way his traits and stuff are on his bow.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, hand size of 6, hit points of 9.
But he's like a human, right? He's just he's not. He's just a guy. He's really good with archery.
That's true. So if you want to play the thematic aspect there, it's going to be cool. I mean, he does like to stay back, so maybe he won't be engaged so much, from the archery perspective. Not until you get into, maybe a Ronin character will we see some more hand-to-hand stuff with him. But super interesting, right, around this. They talked about it when they released it. They said, so much is going to revolve around using his bow. I'm honestly a little bit torn that it can be discarded or you can lose it and now you have to pay to get it back, right? Like, you want to compare this to Thor. That Thor without his hammer is pretty much wah.
That's right. Look at the last movie. But in trade-off, though, they do build him a mechanic. Since it is so important for him to have his bow, they do have a mechanic for him to go get it if something makes him discard or lose it. So there's a trade-off. He doesn't start with it immediately, even though you probably will just go fetch it as soon as your turn starts. But you have something in there that if something makes you use it, you're able to recover it and get back into the rhythm and everything.
Yeah, I mean that's actually detrimental. But I guess just from a aspect of, you know, we just got Thor, and to have a mechanic kind of closely linked to that, I was kind of, you know. I mean, you're gonna always. I think you're gonna draw the comparison there between Thor needing his hammer, Hawkeye needing his bow, and just the back and forth, right? But let's.
Sorry. I'm just like Thor needing his hammer. At the end of the day, without his hammer, Thor's still Thor. Hawkeye without his bow is. Hold on, I'm gonna check my notes. Clint Barton. It's just he's a guy.
Yeah. So, but okay, so let's look though. Does it balance out? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So Thor, search your deck and discard pile for your hammer, and add it to your hand. Okay. Now the hammer costs 1, so I guess you're still spending 1 anyway.
Yeah, it's just the way they do it in the reverse is you have to spend 1 to go search it with Hawkeye, but the bow costs 0.
Yes, that's.
But we're jumping a little ahead. Well, let's come back to this discussion once we get through him and his bow.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I'm going to keep talking about what the bow stats.
Okay.
I haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah. So let's look at Hawkeye itself. Hawkeye is a.
Sure.
You can see the diamond there. Hawkeye is a unique, so that means you can't play with this Hawkeye hero if you're using the Hawkeye ally.
Yep.
Right? So if somebody else is building around Hawkeye, you know, you say, hey, no sir, you are no longer the sidekick. You are the main. You cannot play with that card anymore. So that's kind of an interesting aspect that we'll see things kind of choices have to be made in your play group. But Hawkeye's an Avenger. He's got 1 thwart, 2 attack, and 1 defense. Quick draw is the action. It's exhaust Hawkeye to ready Hawkeye's bow. So again, a lot of emphasis around the bow. Seems like Hawkeye without his bow is nothing. His hand size here in hero form is 5.
Which actually is pretty good. I mean, he only drops 1 hand size going to hero form, and being a 6 to a 5 is actually a pretty respectable hand size for being in hero mode.
Yeah, I have no qualms about those stats. I like it from the fact that it's going to be a little interesting. I want to see how it plays out with the, you know, having 9 hit points, but we do have cards in the game that can already boost that stat. So, you know, that aside, looking at it as a whole, not bad. In a vacuum, it's going to be interesting. But I think that where the character and this hero is going, you know, itself, identity falls short, the mechanics of his 15 card set will build that hype back up for you. Because the way that he's described to play is really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Is it strange that he's S.H.I.E.L.D. in Alter Ego, but he's an Avenger and hero? So it's like some of those traits, like he only gets it on one side. I don't know. It's just interesting on how I wonder how like interaction and like timing works on some of those cards. It needs to be traded one way or the other.
Good catch, good catch, man.
Yeah, it's an interesting little thing on there. All right. But yeah, so he's 1-2-1, so 2 attack, 1 thwart, 1 defense, which is, I mean, he's a guy with a bow. 2 attacks actually not bad. You know, it's respectable. I mean, yeah, that's really it. That's what he does. So he's going to keep, theoretically, he's going to keep writing this bow. What does this bow do? Okay,
yeah. So again, let's move along and add in Hawkeye's bow. Now, Hawkeye's bow, as we said, it's a 0 cost upgrade. This is restricted again. something that we got into discussion about the next one. Really, really weird, but hey, we're seeing Captain America's shield as a restricted, Thor's hammer is restricted, Hawkeye's bow is restricted. Okay. What does that mean? Your hero gets +1 attack, and each of your arrow attacks gains ranged. Now, ranged is a brand new keyword in this set. Now, I'm told there's 5 new keywords that are going to be introduced. This is one of them. So, range attacks ignore retaliate. That's awesome. Very thematic play. Like I said, Hawkeye stays back. He stays out of the the melee, the close, and just pew, pew, right? Archer's ready, right? So it's cool,
and that's actually really good because of his low 8 hit points, right?
Yeah,
so that's one of the trade-offs. Is like even though he's only 9 hit points, he doesn't get like just massacred by retaliate villains because he can keep using his bow to deal 3 damage without taking any repercussions.
And you can do anything with that bow. That's why it's a wild resource.
Yeah. Which is cool, because being a free to play, or his discard is there you go. I see what you did there. And then you can use it to pay for stuff and then fetch it back, I guess.
Yeah, it can be physical.
You can throw it like a boomerang, or you can shoot arrows out of it.
And because we're coming up with those other uses, it's like mental as well, right? You gotta.
That's right. He can pawn it if he needs to get something important. He can do whatever he wants with that bow.
He can. Use it to pay for another card. No, but so this is where we're seeing the trade-off. Like I said, this is a 0 cost, and Thor's hammer is 1 cost. So, I mean, if you're paying to get it, but putting it in for free, I can see where they did that trade-off. Right? Interesting. I really got nothing else to say about him from this perspective. So far.
Yeah, and right now. So right now, the bow doesn't do anything by exhausting. So to readying his bow, there must be something else that triggers his bow to exhaust. That we're missing.
Let's take a peek.
All right.
Hawkeye's quiver is a 1 cost upgrade. It's an item. You may play arrow events attached to this card as if they were in your hand. That's really cool. So you're basically building an ammunition cache, right? Putting stuff on there, building it up. Now, hero action. Exhaust Hawkeye's quiver, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an arrow event, attach it face up to this card. Super awesome.
Yeah, it's really good.
No shuffle there.
I'm hoping they find I wish Hawkeye could go and get this to start the game with, so because this seems like it's going to be super important to really get like the engine and stuff like moving. So I'm hoping he has a way, and I'm hoping this leads to gameplay experiences where you fill this up with arrows, you take your turn, and then you get to say to the table, "Well, my turn's over. I'm all out of arrows." And then you move to somebody else.
I thought you were going to come across with some Gallant 300 reference where they're going to block out the guy with a rain of arrows. And a couple things I like about this. Very low cost to get into play, 1. So that's right away awesome. I love the fact that there's no hand limit. We don't know how many arrow cards are going to be coming. I don't think it's probably the same as that picture there, but when you're playing them onto this, the exhausted quiver, it doesn't say anything that you can't keep playing. You don't have to exhaust to play from them. You just basically an extension of your hand. And in this game, I really like that. I like when they did that mechanic inside of Miss Marvel, and I love seeing it here. Any way that I can get these big, massive combo turns, I just love it. So kudos to the thematicness of building the arrows, different arrows inside the quiver. Like it a lot. Anything else you want to touch on,
really
buddy?
Cool. No, I mean, I think that's really cool. Like anything that can expand that hand size. Because I already mentioned earlier that I thought Hawkeye's hand size and hero size form was already pretty respectable, considering what we've seen as like decreases for some characters recently. And then the fact you get something that can expand that even more and build up for those really good like power turns seems really cool.
Yeah, super. And again, search the top 5 cards of your deck, right? It doesn't say anything about. Obviously, I assume they go back in the same order that you took them at, right? So be careful when you pick them up.
Ooh, yeah, that's true.
But there's no shuffle, right? So if you want to use this as your first turn, you know it's coming. A little bit of precog there, prep for your next turn. Information is power.
You're right.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, I dig it.
No downside there. All right, let's see what's next.
So now let's see some of these arrows. Some of these fabled arrows that he must search for.
And I think this is where we're going to get tricky, Corey. I'll let you introduce it, but I just want to say I think this is where we'll see the downfall of his costs. They show this one as a 2 cost, but I'm sure some of these arrows probably will be pretty pricey, and where his bow is cheap and his quiver is put in play for cheap price as well. The arrows is probably where you're gonna have to pay that money. Arrow development is not.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's not for the poor.
So we've got the Sonic Arrow, which is a 2-cost event. Arrow attack, hero action, exhaust Hawkeye's bow. That's where his bow exhausts, is to fire these arrows. Confuse an enemy and deal 3 damage to it. 5 damage instead if it is already confused. And I'm just going to assume the flavor text is making the sound of a dolphin squealing. And that's, and that's just what you could imagine. Sure. So yeah, that's, I mean, that seems cool. I mean, 2 costs to confuse and deal damage seems fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it only exhausts the arrow, or only exhausts the bow. So it also means like Hawkeye can then like deal another 3 damage and ignore retaliate after firing the Sonic Arrow. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I wonder if he's gonna have a way to get some of these arrows back from his discard, or if it's one of those situations like when you shoot someone with an arrow and you see in the movies and then they're running by and they just pick it up and then use it again, right? Like
the epic like retrieval. He has like a cool retrieval technique.
Or they're on a rope, like he shoots it, then it stabs someone, then he's like, I gotta pull the rope back and then re-go. Like old school retraction.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not much to say around this in general. It's going to be a little bit of thought put in behind. Obviously, this is going to be such a chain reaction, right? Like you're probably, what do you think, going to be shooting off 2 arrows a turn, unless you can build stuff in to try and get items to like. Well, you need your hero to untap to be able to ready the bow, because I guess after every shot the bow's going to be exhausted. So he may be he may be that hero that's going to be just at that couple thing, maybe 1-2 shots a turn, you think, or do you think we'll have to see something there to flush out that kit more?
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably like 2 normally, because he'll like fire, use his action to ready the bow and fire again, unless he gets some other special like action. But I mean, it's also going to make the balance of the cost of the arrows make sense then, because if you made them all like too crazy, you couldn't fire that many in one turn anyway.
Yeah.
I will say though, having Confuse just built into your 15 is pretty strong, because Confuse is, you don't see that very often, and it's a really powerful, like negative to put on somebody, and especially if you stack them in like a Justice build that have like multiple instances of Confuse, then you turn this into a pretty good attack, because you get to deal that 5 damage and stuff off of it.
Yeah. You know what I noticed too is that I'm trying to be cautious of it, but I think a lot when we're doing this, and And
and you're just touching your face
I'm
over again.
touching my face all the time. I'm not supposed to be touching my face right now, man. And there, did it again.
Please
practice good quarantine hygiene.
I know.
Yeah, so this is let's. I believe we have one more arrow card, right, to look at.
Yeah, and this one looks awesome.
Yeah,
this is one that I'm pretty stoked on. So it's the explosive arrow. It's a 1-cost event. Arrow. Hero action. Exhaust Hawkeye's bow and choose a player. Deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion with that player. So that's pretty cool because he can still put some damage on the villain, and then he can sweep like all the little like scrub lords or whatever who are all like tying up your friend and everything, keeping him from doing something constructive. So that's really good. It's good if you see in like Ultron scenarios, the Goblin mutation or the mutagen scenario pack.
Yeah, we definitely need. So, you needed this because that's what you relied on Hawkeye for as an ally, right? Like just that when the little minions come out, ping, 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 ping.
That's right. You still get that a little bit even in hero form. So you lose the ability of the ally Hawkeye, but Hawkeye's like, don't worry, it's still me, Hawkeye. I still have my arrows. Yeah. Don't worry.
What you know what though is that I will say that for this one I wish they had done like that Hawkeye the multi-arrow, like if he had just had 3 arrows on that bow, and it was it was going to each villain or each minion like bam 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 bam, like doing that spread. But hey, this is the reason why I'm here and they're there, right?
That's right. This just explodes. They found out you can just have it explode.
Yeah,
it's a lot less accuracy needed. Yeah. You just need to land in the vicinity, and you're fine.
Yeah.
So it makes the retrieving arrow much harder.
Right. So we see this here. So a 1-cost event. Again, it's kind of cool. But deal 3 damage to the villain and then multiple ones. The last one there was exhaust the bow, confuse an enemy, and deal 3 to it. If it's already confused, you get a damage. So building up this little tool belt of an arsenal of tools inside the quiver, it's going to be really cool, and just pull them out as we go along. And that leads me into this question, Corey. Then if you think that you're going to be able to have a multi-tooled hero, how do you think he's going to play solo?
That's really hard to say until you get the rest of his kit.
Oh, for sure. But
I'm a little worried with his fragility. That he might almost have like an Iron Man-esque, and the early game's gonna be really rough for him to get set up, and then if he can keep stuff at bay. But again, having Confuse in his kit, because the big thing that can hurt solo is the scheme gets a little out of control before you are able to stabilize. And him having some abilities to confuse and buy some time might be pretty useful. I mean, he's got a sweeper. Theoretically, he's got a sweeper because he could hit the villain, target himself, sweep the enemies. He's got a scheme stall already built into his 15. So those are some good tools for the toolbox and everything that he might actually be pretty solid as a solo, or at least capable of playing that way. I don't want to make any assumptions yet until I see more cards. He could go either way. I feel like he's on the ledge of being able to go either direction.
So, almost touched. So it makes me think though, if I look at the science behind this, I want to assume that they came out with the big box and that they want to sell multiple copies of it, and not everybody has people to play with, and but I mean, you and I both know that these aren't being made like a month out, right? Like this was already designed way, like they released the core, they had this already good to go, right? Like the design for it. From that perspective of it is, I don't know if they were able to get a pulse about how many people are playing solo, but I would think that you want to be able to play the core and these big box expansions solo, and you want them to do really well. So I think he will be able to play solo, but
yeah,
if I was just looking at these cards, I don't think he can play solo at all. I don't think, right? Like, if I'm not looking at the whole bigger picture of it and just inside the microscope, I think if they're not giving him ways to keep readying that bow, and you're only able to pull off one, hopefully two arrows a turn, maybe a little extra, assuming you're going to have to get some draw going, there's got to be other setup things you need. Your standard helicarrier, get your Avengers Tower kind of stuff, or Avengers Mansion. Finding those cards and getting your setup onto the table. I don't know if he's going to have that out the gate stamina to go through. I think that that players will have a challenge playing him solo. I don't think it's going to turn anybody off from trying, but I think he may be a real challenge. Not impossible, but I think he's going to be a challenge to play solo. Very, very fun, very fun hero to play as a group, because if you can get that quiver loaded, oh, hey, what do you need? Corey, what are you going to do this turn? Oh, I'm set up for this. Okay, no problem. I can react to that. I'll use my thwart arrow. I'll use my confused, tough, whatever arrow. I've got, the range.
The quiver loaded.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go.
So that's
quiver's ready.
Yeah, that's some thoughts that I'm taking away from this.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of his stuff. To see, like, I could see him being. I mean, my biggest concern is always like 9 hit points, and he's a defense 1. Thwart 1 to attack. And he does look like he needs some setup cards to really get going. Like, the quiver seems really important to be able to keep him consistently being able to maintain, pressure. So it's hard to say without seeing the other cards in his set. So hopefully he gets some sort of something to help him like fetch or dig on top of the quiver. To maybe help him out a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. He does look fun. He does. I mean, he looks more interesting than I would have guessed. I guess the Hawkeye hero could have been. Like the way that like his bow interacts and the variety of arrows gives you some cool stuff to play around with.
Yeah, or like this ranged key. Maybe there's right.
That keyword's cool.
Maybe there's going to be something that like Ariel, right? There'll be something in his thing that is like. You just gain the range trait.
Yeah.
And then once you have that, it like obviously enables maybe all of your attacks to ignore the retaliate stuff rather than just a couple other things.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Because, well, I guess that's basically on the bow itself, right? Like, as long as you have the bow out, you've got ranged, but
that's right. As long as you don't pawn it.
Yeah, so
the treasure.
Because I was gonna say maybe there's a thing that if you were range, if there was a card that gave you super range or something like that, it would be thematically like you're stepping farther away from the fight, and then maybe your defense would be able to increase. Like add 2 to your defense, take a step back, you're now ranged.
Yeah,
but if
as you mentioned, I think it would be cool for him to have some sort of card that would let him pull an arrow out of his discard. So in a sense of almost like your rummage type idea, that like he can fire and do stuff. So he has a card that lets him like search through the deck and find arrows. If he also gets something that then lets him like recover arrows in his discard pile. Because I just feel like that seems really important for him, is to be able to have arrows consistently, because otherwise his that's what his bow's there for, is to fire the arrows. So it seems like he needs to get them on a pretty regular, clip in order to maintain, staying in the game and keeping those type of like tricks and stuff like that going in the game.
So you think maybe about like a good 50% of his 15 should be arrow cards?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you joked about it earlier, but look at the art in the quiver, right? He needs to get a lot of arrows in there.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got space.
That's true, right? But
So it
I just
seems
figured,
like it should be a big thing.
Yeah. When I was thinking,
you kind of want to think you want to have. Sorry, you kind of think you want to have one in your hand almost every turn. Like I feel like the idea is you want to have an arrow every time it's your go.
So when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about, in my head, I was thinking individual arrows, as in, but I mean, you look at the ones that we've seen, they'll probably just give you, here's 2 copies, here's 3 copies, right? Like, but I was like, I want to see like so many individual styles of arrows that I just don't want, I don't want 2 copies of the Sonic arrow. I want Sonic arrow, and I want the heat-seeking arrow, and I want this and this and this and this, because I want that, and I think that will make it more soloable, because you will be able to have that answer prepped for whatever moment you need, right?
Right. And I think that would give him a little bit more utility, because it does. If he's going to be kind of like a toolbox type character, he needs to have a variety of ways to deal with different situations. So we'll see. We'll see what he does as we get more spoilers.
Yeah. All right, let's dive into the other hero that was announced, and
that's right. We've reached our obligatory Hawkeye discussion time, and now we're ready to move into the other hero in the pack.
Okay, so and this is probably going to come out, and I tried to be as excited for Hawkeye as I can be. I do think he's going to be a cool playstyle, but we got to see how he's going to do with those arrows. But Spider-Woman was the one that I was like, oh yes, this is the deck builder's hero right here. This is what we've been waiting for, to get a little crafty and utilize this collection of cards that we're building. Jessica Drew. This is a 3 recovery shield spy. So she is shield on this side as well. The other side, I don't know. Double agent.
Weird.
So this is a before the game starts action, which is kind of okay, Jip. But choose 2 aspects instead of 1 during deck building. You must include an equal number of cards from those aspects in your deck. Now, her in-game action is look at the top card of any deck. Limit once per round. Any deck. Any deck.
Is that any deck?
That's the end. That's
I could look at my neighbor's deck.
Yeah.
I could look at the treachery deck.
Good.
I could any deck. Wow, seems good.
Good deck,
seems
Dick.
Good.
Have you seen that commercial?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. Okay. We just lost all ability to monetize this.
Sorry.
Sorry, YouTube. So what is interesting is, yes, they say that everything is its own deck, right? Like the villain deck, the encounter deck. So being able to look at any one of those is gonna be really cool, and that's the tie into some double agent stuff. She's gonna know it's coming. I don't think you're ever going to just look at your, I'm never going to really have to peek at your deck, right? Like, what's the point of knowing what's coming up in your friend's hand, right?
Well, think about if you have a, like an Avengers Mansion that you're not going to use. Sometimes the player is just like, oh, I want the Avengers Mansion. And you're like, well, hold on. Let me see what you're going to draw first. And you could look and say, like, well, this is what you're going to get. Is that going to make your turn better? I'm going to give it to this person over here.
That's true, but that's a lot of that's a lot of invested actions. If just on ifs and buts, right?
Yeah, but this is ideas of how you could use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe things that if you have like cards that give you choices. I don't know. No, that's probably about as good as it goes.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the treachery look a lot. Or also maybe looking at what might get flipped, like before it goes to the villain turn, and you get to see like how many icons are going to be on something. I mean, there's a lot of versatility with this action.
100%, and I think that's what I like to see. That if you have a card that combos what's next, you look at a card like the Hulk Ally, right?
It's a good call.
Maybe you want to just check. Oh, is this really gonna be detrimental to my board state right here, and he's just gonna berserk out and kill everybody? Am I gonna get good value to use it right now? So any kind of card that's coming, or if there's cards that trigger off the amount of boosts, I think Corey, you were alleviating to there. So anything that combos on, quote unquote, some unknown knowledge can now make it known. So that's kind of cool, right? There was a Netrunner mechanic, right? Like, what's the next card in your deck? If you're able to see that and then combo that down, or it just eliminates the risk of those combos. So I think seeing that stuff and using it for that, not just like, oh, what's my next card going to be, or what's the next encounter card going to be? I think those are too vanilla of a use for it. You really want to be able to use this in those combo peak hidden knowledge.
Yeah, which works out really well, again, thematically, because she's a shield and a spy. So she's able to sneak her and double agent, right? So she's able to look at everything. You don't know whose side she's on. She's got all the info. So it's really cool. I don't know if you mentioned it. I don't know if you went over her hit points and hand size.
No, hit that.
So she's got 11 hit points and a hand size of 6.
Solid. Good work, Corey.
Yeah, thanks. Landed it.
Lied.
Yeah. So yeah, which is fine, which is good. I mean, 11 hit points. She's got more hit points than Hawkeye. Cool.
Touche.
Yeah, and then hand size 6. It's fine. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah,
you're gonna get a variety of cards to play with because of her double agent deck building, which is something I guess we kind of glossed a little bit over, but what this opens up,
I mean, she only spoiled 3 cards, so I thought we just hit like all of them.
All right. Let's hit them, and then we'll go into it.
Talk about her in general. So you can take the back. Spider-Woman. So she got promoted. She's no longer an ally anymore, right? Which is in the Captain Marvel set.
Yep, which she was a really cool ally. Mm-hmm. But now, as a hero, she's a 1/1/1, so 1 thwart, 1 attack, 1 defense. Ooh. She's an Avenger spy, so she keeps the spy keyword, but she loses shield and goes to Avengers. She has superhuman agility, interrupt. When you play an aspect card, Spider-Woman gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and +1 defense until the end of the round. Limit once per round for each aspect. And then she's hit points 11, and she only loses 1 hand size and goes down to a 5. So, wow, that seems really neat. So it looks like with the 2 aspects you get, she could get up to a 3/3 before she does everything.
Yes, but let me show you something that's super more interesting there, Corey.
Do tell. Dude.
One of her spoiled cards today was called Pheromones. Pheromones is a 2-cost event that is a superpower. A hero action, stun and confuse an enemy. Now, this card is both a Spider-Woman card and a leadership card. So what that means for those people that weren't catching on to some of the information that leaked out is that inside of her 15 cards, you are going to have some cards that are both a Spider-Woman card and an aspect card. And all of the aspects will be built inside the Spider-Woman set. The reason for that is to utilize her Spider-Woman ability, and maybe you can get this up to a 5/5. Nasty.
That's pretty sweet. I know. You get that power turn, feels disgusting because you're still doing the effect off the aspect card. So you're still getting whatever benefit the aspect card gives you. And I mean, looking at Pheromones is disgusting. Stun and confuse an enemy? That's really strong. And then she's buffing her stats to be able to hit like super hard or thwart super hard. Seems like she's got some really cool stuff. And I guess this ties it back then. As you mentioned, this definitely looks like the Brewmaster, the deck builder's like dream hero. With now you have all these tools at your disposal tinker and play with, or like which two aspects do I want to combine? Where can I pull from to make some really cool combos within this hero and get some really cool effects off?
Taking a hero that I would have, on name alone, I would have just been like, Spider-Woman, cool. Already have the ally there. Okay. What else is there? Giving her this kind of deck building rule and set to deal with takes the hype off the chain for me as one of the ones I have to get my hands on. This Spider-Woman, like, Corey, the book is going to be open. They're going to be people that can sit down and look at our suite of cards that we already have. Look at 265 or something cards that are going to come in this box. 14 of them will be Avengers Mansion. But from that perspective, we will be able to, there's going to be a lot of good discussion around what is her perfect build. What aspects does she go with? I think out of the box, she's built with aggression and justice. Did they say?
I think that's what they said. I'm not 100% though.
Yes, but I mean, anyway, you just rip that apart and start crafting.
Yeah, because you can do whatever, right? As long as you build them equally, you've got all these options available to you.
Right. And this might be one of the first ones that, if you want to lean one way, that we might see people push that deck limit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Because now, especially like with the card, because as the card pool, gets bigger and bigger, filling the void with a lot of those neutral cards sometimes make it harder as you get better and better aspect cards. But now with Spider-Woman giving you access to 2 aspect cards, you've really got to think about like what makes it into the deck, what gets cut, what's the important stuff, because especially if you want to stay near your your deck minimum to keep keep it flowing, keep everything moving, keep your variance down. I'm super excited. Like, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I'm super hyped. Like, one, super unique and really cool to give a hero that gives you the ability to play with multiple aspects. And then, yeah, it's done, man. I just hope you wash your hands a bunch before we record it.
Dude, my hands are sandpaper, guy. I've washed it so much, Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then, so like the ability to play with multiple aspects is super awesome. And then the fact that she triggers off of it, like being able to combo off like with different turns. And then her 15, because before we were talking before the cast, I didn't get to watch the stream. I just read the article. Because I don't know how to differentiate time zones. So that was really cool of me. But anyway, so I'm like, what does she have this leadership card in here for? And I was just like, oh, that seems like it's already. And then you like explained to me, I was like, oh my God, this is insane. It's so cool.
So I think this, again, you're the one that first called it out. I'm not going to take the call for this one, but I think this is the hero to play solo.
Yeah, I think she's, because you've got so much variety and the ability to play with 2 aspects. And another thing, for those people who have, there's some people who haven't, so I'm not going to call it any specific cards, but those who've already looked at the full pack Black Widow spoilers, because it's up in certain sites, there are a couple cards that trigger off Spy. So this is another hero that can play with those cards outside of Black Widow. And that's another thing that's really cool, because we mentioned in one of her casts, you're going to give all these keywords, please use them. And it looks like they're actually taking advantage of a lot of these keywords and spreading them around to be able to get these triggers and like different heroes and different deck ideas and stuff like that. And that's cool.
Man, this is already, the hype is real on Spider-Woman, man. 100%. I'm glad you transitioned to that aspect of it, because I can't tell you how excited I am to see so many potential, interactions on that trait, being able to build differently, and the fact that they are starting to put stock into that piece of the card that always goes overlooked. Thank you. Right? So, so for me, let's awesome art. All three of these Spider-Woman cards have great art on them. Deck building. This is a deck builder's dream. You basically threw the rules of the game out the window, putting 2 aspects in it, giving her an ability that triggers off all of those aspect cards is great. How it boosts everything like that. This is a solo plays dream. Just really cool. I wish we had have seen more Spider-Woman cards than we had have seen Hawkeye cards. Right?
Yeah, but look at, it speaks volumes though about how much depth this hero is potentially going to have with all the discussion off just knowing both sides of her hero card and one card previewed. Like, you're already seeing, like, there's a lot of directions and a lot of things you can do with her just off the deck building rules previewed on her hero card and how she interacts with
I wouldn't be surprised
if
there's already some some mock decks up on Marvel Marvel DB or whatever it is, right?
It's going to be fun. And that's actually, like, I'm sure, like, when she becomes released, you're actually going to see so much variety on different ways to kind of, like, tinker and play with her. And especially, like, with all the cards that'll be out by the time she releases, plus everything coming out after her. It's just, she's going to have a lot of stuff you can do. And this is going to be a really cool hero to play with.
Just going to be a beast. She's going to be so fun to play with. I'm really excited for this box for that reason. There's some other stuff we can get into it on a different episode. We just wanted to kind of share our excitement for these 2 new heroes that are going to the game. But Corey, I think I speak for both of us when we say the real bread and butter we're getting from this is the villains. Oh, it looks so good. There's some good big name villains in here. Again, some interesting reuse though of villains that we've already seen as kind
of like little, like, module add-ons or little side characters. And I think Taskmaster was a nemesis.
Yeah, so that's where the word I was searching for.
There you go.
The nemesis, right, of some other ones, right? So some interesting stuff about decisions that are going to already be made. If you're playing a hero that is already a villain, that line just basically, they said, gets canceled out. But it will say, like, if this villain is already in play, if it doesn't come in, maybe the card gains surge, and so that's how they're kind of handling that kind of stuff. But really excited. Spider-Woman's going to be the push that this game, from a deck building perspective. I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, and if you've watched any of these earlier episodes and you've seen the decks that, like, Jameson really gets pumped about, like, I knew this is, like, right in his wheelhouse. So it's going to be really cool.
It is, right? Like, and that's why I said I really wish it was flipped. I mean, I can't tell you how a Spider-Woman deck is going to play, but I can tell you kind of, if we didn't have as many Hawkeye cards, I could have been like, yep, he's going to have a bow. He's like, I didn't really expect the quiver, but okay, that's cool, right? So I'm going to be able to store cards out in my tableau in front of me, but then I'm going to have all of these kind of unique arrows that I'm shooting around, right? Yeah, they added in the range mechanic. That's kind of, nifty. That's a step up from the core. They can start tweaking and adding those layers to the game in now. But the Spider-Woman one, I never saw coming. That's phenomenal. Like, why couldn't they give me something more? They're gonna have to ship some Spider-Woman spoilers out to us. They have to.
That's right. Gonna phone box.
Yeah.
Spider-Woman spoilers, please. So. But yeah, I'm super stoked for the big box. I mean, a lot of things we've already mentioned. All the new villains, because a big thing like all of us want, we crave, is scenarios to play. But another thing that kind of like I'm going to touch on just briefly, we can go into more detail in a later episode, but they did announce a campaign mode that's actually going to have like a progressing story plus some like deck construction things supposedly in between the scenarios, based on decisions and stuff you make as you go through the story, which seems really cool. Add some extra depth to the game, especially if you have like a group you play with on a regular basis to kind of get a lot of replayability out of it, which is thumbs up. It's really cool.
Indeed. Perfect. So that's kind of our breakdown so far and some impressions of these heroes. Really wish the timeline wasn't so far out, but hey, this gives us stuff to talk about, right, Corey?
That's right. So, and as we wrap this up, I just hope everyone's staying safe, being careful, and when we get through all this crazy coronavirus quarantine, on the other side, there's hopefully a lot of really cool Marvel Champion stuff, waiting to release, all en masse, coming at you hot.
Yeah, you'll finally get to play with your Hawkeye playmats.
Yeah. That's right.
Everyone, thank you very much. We hope that this filled somewhat of a little entertainment gap in your evening, your week, your day, wherever you saw this. Hopefully you're all getting outside to get a little bit of fresh air sporadically, open a window, and thank you very much, and we'll catch you later.
Yeah. You guys take care. Have a good night.